Hi, this is Sandra.
And this is Tanisha, and you are watching Big Stone Television.
A very pleasant good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Big Stone Television. As you know, we're still on the series of Gone Too Soon. We're here remembering the great Jamaican artists of yesteryear, artists that came and they stamped their name on the history books of reggae music, paved the way for some of these young, bright, shining stars of today. So we cannot but remember the greats of the greats. Today, we're going to be talking about Prince Jazzbo, one of the most distinctive DJs of the 70s, who, in the following 2 decades, carved out a similarly successful second career as a record producer. Born Linval Carter in Chapeltown, Clarendon, on the 3rd of September 1951, Prince Jazzbo's early childhood was spent in Blackwood, and from the age of 8 onwards, he lived between his mother's home in Clarendon and his aunt's home in Spanish Town. He came by his nickname very early on, and long before he ever thought of taking up the microphone. His family in England would send him shoes from London, with GB for Made in Great Britain printed on the soles, and young Linval became GB, which then became Jazzbo. As a child, GB would sing in his village, and everyone loved to hear him sing. At the age of 10, some big men took him to Maypen with a view to record their local prodigy, but nothing came of it. Increasingly drawn toward the world of sound system, Jazzbo's favorite sound in Clarendon were Briscoe Hi-Fi, which belonged to his uncle, and Franklin Brown's sound, Brown Disco. On the Spanish Town circuit, he followed Killer Whip, Wasp the Almighty, and Ruddy's supreme ruler of sound. And his interest in actuality becoming a DJ began with Cedric sound. Jazzbo cited DJ Wicked from Ruddy's and El Mango as his biggest influence. By the age of 14, Jazzbo was a regular mic man for Killer Whip. He had received a lot of encouragement along the way from Whip, the sound owner and producer Glenn Brown, but Jazzbo's aunt actively disapproved of his love of music and sound systems. She felt so strongly about it that she turned him out of her Spanish Town home, and by the age of 13, Jazzbo was literally living on the streets. I don't know what it means to be anything but a survivor, and I don't want to know anything else. Spanish Town, New Year's Eve 1970. In the crowd at a sound clash dance between Roy on the mic for Ruddy's and Prince Jazzbo for Killer Whip was none other than Clement Coxon Dad. He was so impressed with Jazzbo's performance that he asked him to come to Studio One the next morning. Jazzbo met with Mr. Dad a few days later, but had to wait a fortnight until he was able to voice. Burning Spears, Door Peep shall not enter rhythm. The record entitled Imperial One. Prince Jazzbo first was released 6 weeks later. The Prince stayed with Mr. Dad at Studio One for the next 2.5 to 3 years. Jazzbo released a number of classic singles for Studio One on the Bongo Man label, included Crab Walking, School, and Pepper Rock during this period. But Coxson's album, Choice of Virgin, which showcased the Prince in fine style over some of Brentford Road's finest rhythm, remained unreleased until 1991. As well as recording for other producers, Jazzbo started to produce records for his own Mr. Funny Count, 123 and Briscoe labels in 1972. Glenn Brown stepped forward again when, instead of paying Jazzbo $150 for Mr. Harry Skank, his explosive version to Dirty Harry, they agreed on $75. And for Jazzbo to have a cut of Glenn Brown at Crossroad Rhythm for his own use. His first production was Cranky Bine, voiced by King Tubby's at his Drumley Avenue studio for free. I paid $35 for a set of stampers and $80 per 100 to press my first records. Jazzbo left 12 copies on consignment at Job Gibbs' Record Globe and 12 more at Randy's under the same arrangement. But KG's at Crossroad ordered 25 copies, paid for them, and went on to sell hundreds more to local record buyers. The record was a success, and it paved the way for his second production, Wise Shepherd. The most vituperative of all DJs, Jazzbo now began to make his mark with a series of classic self-produced 7-inch releases such as 4-Star, Mr. Funny, Every Nigger is a Winner, and Step Forward Youth. There was never any room for misinterpretation on his records, and the listener was left in no doubt as to what he meant and the messages that he needed to deliver. Prince Jazzbo's vitriolic work was always focused and in deadly earnest. I won't lay down or talk of foolishness. No time for negativity. No room for foolishness. His long playing debut for the upsetter, Natty Passing Through, proved extremely popular when it was released in the UK and Black Wax, and also in the USA, where the Clock Tower counterpart was entitled Itel Corner. The 1975 feud between Prince Jazzbo, Spanish Town DJ. Prince Jazzbo remains one of the most talked about episodes in the history of Jamaican music. Jazzbo recalled the beginning of the recorded rivalry. I had gone to King Tubby's studio. When I arrived, I saw I-Roy with Bunny Lee, Tapazuki, and Scientist. Tubby was preparing to voice I-Roy, and as he set up and balanced I-Roy, he pressed the record button. It started as a rundown, and I-Roy began insulting me on the microphone. Everyone in the room laughed except me. Bunny Lee said he was going to release the tape, and he did. This was the origin of the tracks. He never liked the idea at all, but he had no choice to respond, as it was just like a sound system duel, and Jazzbo gave as good as he got, with straight to I-Roy's head and the Bob Gal boy I-Roy. Jazzbo then spent 3 years in London, where he established the Ujamaa label. Ujamaa is Swahili for self-help. It was hard for small people to do business, and on his return to Kingston, began to produce a lot of little use for his label. As computer-driven rhythms came to the fore, the Ujamaa label, which proudly proclaimed "Made in Jamaica by Rastaman," was to be found at the cutting edge of this revolutionary new music. Horace Ferguson in 1983 released Sensi Haddock, was one of the first breakthrough digital hits. An excellent UI version, Music Addict, followed, and a Jazzbo-produced Euro album, The Seven Gold was later given an international release as Music Addict and Ras. Prince Jazzbo always lived good with everybody, and he later voiced his own rival, I-Roy for Ujamaa, and up-and-coming DJs such as Cabra and Papa San. Veteran vocalists also appear on the label, including Dennis Walks and Freddie McKay, alongside newcomer Frankie Paul, whose Here We Go Again on the Rubber Dub Market album is one of his best ever. The Ujamaa label was seriously prolific. Raw, basic, and undomed, the majority of these tracks recorded now sound even better than they did at the time, and they sounded really good then. One of the most original and provocative DJs of the 70s, Prince Jazzbo's work as a producer in the 80s and the 90s proved to be every bit as forceful and successful. His longevity in a business famed for its rapid turnover of talent is a testament to his unwavering stance and commitment. Linval Carter, aka Prince Jazzbo, died in 2013. He was only 62 years old. Jazzbo, Prince Jazzbo. When I heard the name Prince Jazzbo, I was mesmerized because that name was such a powerful name in the music industry. And as a young boy, I was truly and seriously interested in reggae music, in wanting to sing. And Prince Jazzbo was every bit of a role model, not just for me, but for a whole lot of other people. Prince Jazzbo, I will never forget you. You came and you did what you had to do, even though you was insulted, even though you was put on the street by your grandmother, you still follow suit on your dream. And your dream became a reality, and your name is now permanently etched in history. Born Linval Carter, died Prince Jazzbo. What a transformation. Thank you, sir, for giving us great reggae music. Thank you, sir, for being such an advocate for love and peace and unity. You even voiced your rival. You're such a man, and what a man you was. Rest in peace, and my condolences goes to the family of Prince Jazzbo. Please like and share this video, and if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, now is the most appropriate time to do so. Thank you so much.